This wasn't just some random fan comment. A post from Kelsey Mitchell's own sister has put a public face on a private frustration that could threaten the Indiana Fever's locker room. And while Kelsey herself has stayed quiet, her family is saying what some people think she might be feeling, that the Caitlin Clark era is creating some serious growing pains. We need to talk about what's really going on inside the Indiana Fever because this family drama is shining a light on a rift that could tear this team apart from the inside. So what's going on, everybody? Today, we looking at a situation that is simmering in Indianapolis. And it's a story about perceived jealousy, shifting power dynamics, and the kind of tension that can derail a season. And we're going to break down the evidence, connect some dots, and figure out what this really means for the future of the Fever. So as you guys see in the article presented on the screen, it says Kelsey Mitchell's sister got to agree with Post denying Caitlin Clark's Fever impact. So then you go down through 24 regular season games. The Indiana Fever have not had the 2025 WNBA season that fans were expecting from them. While most pegged this team to contend for a championship this season, Indiana has a 12-12 record and struggle to find consistency on both ends of the floor. Much of this is owed to Caitlin Clark had missed about half the season with several different soft tissue injuries, which has kept a Fever roster that features a lot of new pieces from one season ago from finding any cohesion. This has been frustrating for many fans and has created some discord within the fan base. And one Facebook user named Steve Brown made a post at the end of last month that has since caught a ton of attention. The post showed side by side photos of Fever stars Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston and wrote, quote unquote, Clark's delusional fans stay mad. Call me all the names in the book. We all saw, in parentheses, including y'all, who carries my Fever team, and we all know who the offense should be ran through. Whether you like it or not, these two players can win some games without Clark, but Clark can't win a single game without them. Argue with your mama hashtag. And this is the post right here, as you guys can see. And Kelsey Mitchell's sister says, I gotta agree to fan post about Caitlin Clark. However, this fan post isn't just going viral because of what was said. It was about Kelsey Mitchell's sister, Chelsea, who also played on Ohio State women's basketball with Kelsey, reposted it on her own Facebook page and wrote, I gotta agree on July 1st. So that was 23 days ago. So several fans on social media have posted screenshots on X, um, formerly known as Twitter, while the comments from Kelsey Mitchell's sister will ultimately have no impact on Indiana Fever's locker room. This sentiment is still eye-opening for Fever fans to read. And this is the screenshot of Chelsea Mitchell, which is obviously Kelsey Mitchell's sister, and she commented, "I gotta agree," and reposted it. Right, so that's sending everything up into a frenzy. And it all blew up because of that Facebook post that sent shockwaves through the WNBA community. And fans now are saying stuff like this all the time. Then it's passionate, biased, and usually just noise. But this was different. This time, someone from the inside circle hit the share button, as you guys see, her own sister. But let's be real about what this means. This isn't a distant cousin or an anonymous troll. This is Kelsey Mitchell's sister, who'd also played college ball at Ohio State, publicly endorsing a statement that questions the value of the team's number one draft pick. And the implication is impossible to ignore. The idea that Clark is overhyped and the offense should still run through the vets is a feeling that exists inside Kelsey Mitchell's own family. And when family starts talking like this, you have to wonder if they're just echoing conversations from the dinner table. And it sparked a massive reaction from fans, and it puts Kelsey Mitchell in a tough spot, to be honest. Because publicly, Kelsey Mitchell has said all the right things. After re signing with the Fever, she even called Caitlin Clark one of the greatest people in the world and spoke positively about their partnership. But her sister's actions have people questioning everything. So if you have to ask, where is this really coming from? Is Chelsea Mitchell just a protective older sister just speaking her mind? Or is she giving a voice to Kelsey's private frustrations? So let's try to connect the dot, right? Connect the dots. And I also want to show you another post, right? Because this is her family, as it says in this X post. Her family, her whole family shares this thought between, and they took pictures with Team Collier and two of Team Clark, the replacements. So this is Kev Dre Mitchell, obviously one of her family members because it got Mitchell. I don't know if his cousin, brother, I don't know. But that season, Mitchell never even missed a game, finished the season 10th in MVP voting, and played a huge role in helping the Fever make the playoffs for the first time in 7 years. And this past offseason, the Fever signed her to a Supermax contract, making her one of the highest paid players in the league. Mitchell might not take a lot of the headlines with all the buzz around Clark, but make no mistake about it, right? And that's what's being said around in these streets, man. And also, that's Tim. Oh, that's Tim Anderson. Was somebody post or retweeted, or I should say reposted it. So we already wait. Yeah, we are somebody that was a fan or somebody within Kelsey Mitchell's family reposting that. And these are the pictures they're talking about, right? So look, man, if you really look at things, connecting the dots. For years, Kelsey Mitchell was the Indiana Fever. Drafted number 2 overall in 2018, she became the franchise star during some very tough seasons from 2019 to 2023. She was the team's leading scorer every single year. She was the one consistent bright spot, a two-time All-Star who stayed loyal through it all, and she was the face of the franchise. Then, seemingly overnight, everything changed. The Caitlin Clark phenomenon arrived, and with that, a massive shift in the team's dynamic and public focus. And that's a tough adjustment for any veteran, especially one who has been as productive and loyal as Mitchell. And this drama gets magnified by a narrative that's been brewing among some fans. And there's a perception that when Clark takes hard fouls, the visible support from her teammates can seem inconsistent. And this feeds the idea that there's a disconnect that goes beyond normal growing pains, right? And while there's no concrete evidence of a team wide issue, in fact, Clark even selected Mitchell as her first pick for the All Star reserves. The optics on the court can sometimes raise questions about team unity, and the comments from Mitchell's sister feel less like a random outburst and more like a confirmation of the tension many have been suspecting, right? When you look at it in a post like this, it blows your mind. And this is a messy situation with a lot of moving parts. And I want to know what you think. Is this just a family drama being blown out of proportion? Or do you think Chelsea Mitchell's comments point to a real problem in the Fever's locker room? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I really want to know you guys' thoughts. And if you think something feels off in Indiana, do me a favor and hit that like button. To really get the pressure cooker environment in Indiana, we have to talk about Kelsey Mitchell's contract, though. Because after being the anchor for a struggling team for years, Mitchell hit free agency in the offseason. Instead of signing a long-term deal to be Clark's running mate for the foreseeable future, she signed a one-year contract. So think about what that means. A one-year deal is a bet on yourself, and Mitchell gets paid well for one season, but there's no long-term security. And she has every reason to maximize her own value this year to prove she's still a star who deserves a max contract, whether that's to Indiana or somewhere else. Now, add the family drama to the contract situation. If you feel like your role is shrinking and the offense isn't running through you anymore and you're on a one-year deal, that's a recipe for frustration. And every game is an audition. Every stat line counts. Clark's arrival, while incredible for the league and ticket sales, has directly complicated Mitchell's professional future. And Mitchell got to take she has to take the fork out her own eye, right? Because yeah, this creates a tricky dynamic at the team's core because you have the franchise understandably excited about building around its future and Caitlin Clark. At the same time, you have the veteran star, the heart of the team for years, on a short-term deal who may feel like she's being pushed into the background. And the front office calls Kelsey a foundation of our franchise. But a one-year deal doesn't exactly scream long-term commitment, and that uncertainty is likely adding to the tension we're seeing play out in the public. And if you listen to the Indiana Fever, everything is fine. The organization talks about culture and chemistry. Both Clark and Mitchell have talked about building a relationship and respecting each other. Clark herself has consistently downplayed any rumors of her locker room issues, saying the outside noise doesn't reflect what's happening inside the team. But fans and observers see the body language on the court. They see the social media post from a close family member, and they see a team that sometimes looks more like a collection of individuals that need or a collection of individuals than a connected unit. And it makes you wonder, are they a great team or just a team of great players? Because you got, head coach Stephanie White. She's in an incredibly difficult position of managing all this because she has to balance egos and clarify roles and keep the team focused on winning while a PR fire burns because the situation got even more complicated when Clark missed significant time with injuries, forcing players like Mitchell and Boston to carry the load and adding another layer to the debate over who is most essential. And this is more than just one Facebook post now. It's about the perception of jealousy, which seems to have been validated by a player's own family. And while the players might give the right answers in interviews, the truth has a way of coming out under pressure. And right now, the pressure in Indiana is tense and the cracks are starting to show. If you really want to look at it, because, Kelsey Mitchell says all the right things. And you seeing social media explode all over this, and this is a big deal, and it could absolutely fracture the fan base. Look, it already happened when fans were defending the poor coaching decisions earlier in the season. Now we got a potential beef between players being aired through family members. And if you ask me, that's not just family being family. When it spills into the public, it becomes a real issue, especially in the WNBA, where the off the court drama often dominates the headlines more than the actual darn basketball, right? And the truth is, just being honest, Kelsey Mitchell won't be back next year, I feel like. And she see herself as just true star. And that's the problem, right? Because Clark is the focal point. She is the engine, the national story. And look, man, I even wonder if you gave Coach Stephanie White some truth serum, would she say that Mitchell is the star of this team? Because it wouldn't surprise me if that's what she believes. And that's the case, the Fever ain't got a major problem, right? Because we know Stephanie White, she known to say that Caitlin Clark injury is on a day-to-day basis when it's really on a week-to-week basis. And I covered that story when Caitlin Clark injury, they keep trying to downplay it, but you're not having the best interest of Caitlin Clark, right? And to me, reading through the lines, Kelsey Mitchell thinks she bigger than what she is. Her time where she was the vocal point of the Indiana Fever franchise, it couldn't have been that successful because she would have been just as more of the headlines and national story in the engine as Caitlin Clark. And it's not to discredit her, but the problem is know your roles. Some people are just more successful at their role. If you were the face of the franchise, you couldn't push the engine or be the national story or be the drive to make the franchise bigger than what it is before Caitlin Clark came into the league, then that's okay, right? But the end of the day, now you got your family members messing up your bag. They don't have the best interest of you. If anything, you want to ask me, Caitlin Clark had the best interest of Kelsey Mitchell before her own darn sister. I'm just keeping it real. So you go home, complain to your family, they hype you up, and then suddenly you heading back to work feeling more disrespected than before. And that dynamic absolutely leads to bigger problems. And it's possible that's what's happening here, right? You got family members getting in your head. It be your family members that be the ones closest to you to hurt you, right? And look, I'm gonna close here. So where does this leave the Indiana Fever, right? They're standing at a crossroads. One path involves them using this drama as a wake-up call. The players and coaches could address the issues, get on the same page, and rally together to prove everyone wrong, building the championship culture they talk about. But there's another possibility. The resentment could continue to bubble under the surface and the locker room could remain divided. The on-court chemistry might never click, derailing a season that started with so much promise at the end of the year. And Kelsey Mitchell feeling undervalued. And I don't feel as though she has been as popping as they trying to make her to be. You want to be my honest opinion? Like, let's just keep it real. Let's look at her stats. Let's keep it real, right? If you're looking at Kelsey Mitchell, what was she doing? 19.5 points. All right. Keelan Clark could come back from an injury and easily score 19.20 plus points. And I'm not sitting here saying that Kelsey Mitchell is not capable of doing that. But yeah, she hasn't been injured, but how hard has she really been balling? Right? And she been putting up the same last year, 2024, 19.2, 19 points, right? She got 19 points per game or whatever. This year, 19 and a half points per game, almost 20 points. She was putting up before Caitlin Clark came. Okay, she came in the league 2018, 12 points, 13 points, 17 points. So she going up what? A point? A couple points every year? And now last year and this year, she's been at 19 plus points. So her stats, if you really want to look about it, Eric McDonald is more of a defensive pest than her. Right? Is she a good backcourt person? Can she cut? Can she got some moves? Can she get to the basket? Yes. And be aggressive? Yes. Can she pick up the pace? Yes. But I don't feel like Kelsey Mitchell is effective as she thinks she is and what she couldn't be. Right? And that's just what it is. But the comments from Kelsey Mitchell's sisters have definitely pulled back, or Kelsey Mitchell's sister had pulled back the curtain on his team. What was once quiet speculation is now a loud public conversation. The future of the Indiana Fever might depend on whether they can fix the fracture that started not on the court, but in the comment section of a Facebook post. And I'll leave you with one final question. Is this a case of protective sister going too far, or is she giving a voice to frustrations, or is she giving a voice to frustrations Kelsey Mitchell can't express publicly? Let me know your definitive take in the comments below. On that note, family, talk to you later. Peace.